the great songs that David Bowie didn't include on Ziggy Stardust. The rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars is regarded as one of the classic albums, and it's the record that finally brought Bowie worldwide fame and superstardom. During the sessions for Ziggy, David and the Spiders recorded a few songs which were absolute classics, and I've always wondered why he never included them on the album. For example, All the Young Dudes. This song to me was an absolutely perfect fit for the record. In a Rolling Stone interview conducted by William Burroughs back in 1974, Bowie says that it was actually part of the Ziggy narrative. Burroughs, can you explain this Ziggy Stardust image of yours? From what I can see, it has to do with the world being on the eve of destruction within 5 years. Bowie, the time is 5 years to go before the end of the earth. It has been announced that the world will end because of the lack of natural resources. Ziggy is in a position where all the kids have access to things they thought they wanted. The older people have lost touch with reality, and the kids are left on their own to plunder anything they want. Ziggy was in a rock and roll band, but the kids no longer want rock and roll. There's no electricity to play it. Ziggy's advisor tells him to collect the news and sing it, because there is no news. Ziggy does this, and then there is terrible news. All the Young Dudes is a song about this news. It's no hymn to the youth, as people thought. It's completely the opposite. At the time of the Rolling Stones interview, Bowie was thinking of putting on a theatre production of Ziggy Stardust, the musical, and had probably fleshed out a bit the loose Ziggy concept from the 1972 album. Two other new songs written for the musical were Rebel Rebel and When You Rock and Roll With Me, now making their appearance on Diamond Dogs. Bowie on the Ziggy musical. 40 scenes are written for it, and it would be nice if the characters and actors learn the scenes and then we stuff them all in a great big hat the afternoon of the performance and just perform the musical as the scenes came out. Bowie offered All the Young Dudes to Mott the Hoople in March 1972. Hoople were on the verge of splitting up, but the story goes Bowie originally offered them Suffragette City, but they rejected it, and they didn't feel it suited their style. After Hoople's rejection of Suffragette City, it's said that David went away and wrote All the Young Dudes specifically for the band. Ian Hunter. He just played it on acoustic guitar. I knew straight away it was a hit. There were chills going down my spine. That's only happened to me a few times in my life, when you know this is just a biggie. Drummer Del Griffin said, "We couldn't believe it. We're in his office at Regent Street and he's just strumming it on his guitar, and I'm thinking, he wants to give us that? He must be crazy. We broke our necks to say yes." You couldn't fail to see it was a great song. Which leaves me with another question. If the band had accepted Suffragette City, would we have still seen that track appear on Ziggy Stardust? So I wonder what the true story of All the Young Dudes is, but for me its inclusion on Ziggy Stardust would have made a great album even better, especially with its contemporary lyrics concerning T-Rex, the Stones and the Beatles. It's just an anthem that would have fitted perfectly at the end of side 1. Instead, that spot was taken by It Ain't Easy by Ron Davis. I always felt that this track didn't fit in on the record. It just sounds at odds with the mood and the feel and the concept, and it just doesn't fit. But now the plot thickens or thins, because that spot was originally going to be the track Sweet Head. The lyrics though contain references to the newly released, highly controversial film A Clockwork Orange, as well as racism, innuendo and referencing oral sex. RCA Records at the time had a pretty strict stance against provocative or suggestive material. They must have loved having David Bowie on the roster. Another track recorded at those Ziggy Stardust sessions was Velvet Goldmine, but this was even more controversial. In 1990, Bowie claimed he was writing in the third person and talking to worshipping Ziggy Stardust through a groupie's eyes. "You got crazy legs, you got amazing head, you got rings on your fingers and your hair's hot red. You got width from my tongue, name on the sun. I got you going to my breast, 'cause you're the only one who uses school to pleasure. If only RCA had been a little bit more enlightened, but Bowie back then really pushed the boundaries, and he seemed to be always walking a very fine line. For example, the utter outrage in the UK press the day after his appearance on Top of the Pops, performing Starman in July 1972, where David draped his arm around Mick Ronson. This was construed by conservative Middle England as homosexuality displayed on our TV screens. But Bowie saying in a Melody Maker interview in January 1972 that he was bisexual went largely unnoticed. So I guess back in 1972 Bowie had to pick his battles and just to see what he could get away with. But very, very soon it was Bowie who was calling the tune and RCA who was dancing to it. So there you have it, a snapshot of what might have been. Thank you for listening. Please take care, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.